Okay, then. So this week there was a major round of previews, which we weren't invited to, but that is often the case for Forza Horizon 6. Yeah, we've had, I believe it was a demo that was locked to the 30 FPS quality mode on what I assume is the Xbox Series X. From what I understand, reviewers or other journalists could access the full map, but they only had 3 races to look at. I actually looked at the Video Games Chronicle video, and the races kind of like, they kind of admit it in themselves in their commentaries. Like, this is more of the same, but I really like it because it's Forza Horizon. They do it great. And then we also had a video from Microsoft itself showing the initial drive. This is always like the showcase part of Forza Horizon, where they show you some really, really awesome stuff, amazing set pieces, lovely environments. That looked really, really cool, actually. Alex, I'm going to go to you first on this. It's looking good.
It is looking good. Yeah, there's I mean, I was a little bit dismayed when I wrote to you guys this morning. I was like, does anyone have any 60 FPS feeds of this? I'm looking for the 60 FPS feeds. And they aren't, because apparently the preview event was locked to the 30 FPS mode, potentially. And I would presume that would mean the Series X version of the game, which is kind of interesting because in the previous game, they had a variety of modes. And they updated the game over time. But, at launch, there was like a very hardcore, like when John covered a bit, 30 FPS mode, which was really pristine looking. And then like a 60 FPS mode with more compromises, including resolution and a number of finer detail in the world, including stuff like vegetation being quite different. So I'd be very curious to see how it shakes out this time around on Series X, whether or not the 60 FPS mode is of similar compromises as it was before, or it actually takes some sort of different setup, because maybe the engine's changed in the background this time around. Maybe they're not utilizing things like MSAA. We'll have to wait and see for the full game to see that out. But there was some cool stuff to even notice within this 30 FPS footage that they have. And looking at the official initial drive gameplay that is on the Forza channel, I did notice ray tracing, which is cool. They do use the ray trace reflections. They have the ones both on your car, so it self-reflects itself, and I guess smaller things in the environment around it, I believe. They show up in the cutscenes before it switches to camera view to the car, as well as in gameplay. You'll see that when the car like kind of turns a bit and the camera doesn't keep up with it, because it has like one of those kind of lazy cameras, which looks good. And you can see on the side of the car stuff like the side view mirrors are reflected in the windows as well as the car body, which is something wasn't there in the original Forza Horizon 5 launch version. And in the initial thing that I saw, which may or may not be completely new to the Series X, is that in the initial kind of drive-by, when the announcer says like, oh, if you're on a high-speed train, enjoy this day, and then the high-speed train comes out on the left-hand side of the screen. This is how the game works. You've played it all before. But as the train's going by and the car's running parallel to it, there are the power lines which power the train. And as it goes by, you can see each of the individual power lines is actually reflected in the train's body. Now, with the way Forza Horizon and all the Forza games have done cube maps in the past, where they share the cube maps between cars, I don't think that would have been possible. It wouldn't line up, right? So here, maybe it looks like the ray trace reflections also apply to more than just your car. And I presume it's simplified like the previous Forza games, but this is an upgrade over what we saw in the past.
That's interesting. John, there's obviously been various videos based on the preview footage, preview build, I believe. Any thoughts on what you're seeing here? I mean, looks nice.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when there's a new Forza Horizon game, I'm excited for it for sure. It does seem, and I guess they've made a lot of these, and it does seem a bit safe, but it's like coming back to an old friend in a way. Like I don't mind, iteration on this. It is just a fun series, and it sounds like they've made some potential changes to the progression system to ensure that if you're doing festival events, you can't just like immediately start jumping into supercars and such and hypercars and all that, because that was kind of an issue before. So it does seem hopefully a little more gradual in that sense, right? Although you can still do free drive with the more powerful cars right away. So we'll see how that goes. I of course love what they're doing visually overall. There's a few weird visual bugs in some of the footage I've seen, but by and large, it looks freaking great. The lighting is beautiful. Obviously, I've seen some back and forth discussion about the way that Japan is represented, and I think this is just you get. I feel like you think of Horizon games as like trying to capture the look and feel of a spot, but like fundamentally the roads and layouts are all designed to be best for actually gameplay, right? Like they want to make sure that what you're doing is fun. And I think if they actually got the scale of the roads correct, it would be kind of annoying to play at points. This actually was well, roads in Japan are a lot narrower than they're depicted here. Like all the roads here are like wider than the cars by a fair margin, and that's just not how it is. But I think, Rich, you might have felt the same with Forza Horizon 4, where I feel like they depicted the roads in the UK as being a lot wider than they actually are.
At times, yeah.
And those guys are from there, so like it's very obvious that it's a gameplay choice. And I think that's probably the way to go in terms of fun. But I do think they've actually done a good job capturing the look of some of these places. Not all of it, but a lot of it, it's like it looks pretty spot on. And I'm very interested to explore and see. I really just want to see how they link it all together, right? Because Tokyo itself is so big. Like there's no like obvious, like, okay, here's like the suburbs and now you're in the city when you're in the car. It's a very large place, and they obviously can't represent all of that in here. So I'll be curious to see how it's pieced together specifically.
Absolutely. You always need to have some sort of distillation, the essence of the place rather than the whole place, because you can't accurately, for example, in Forza Horizon 4, you can't accurately render all of Scotland and the north of England.
I'm afraid not.
And similarly with Mexico, that's a pretty big place as well. I think it's just about sort of capturing the spirit of the place.
Correct.
The effort, the R&D effort they put into actually sort of, capturing materials, all of the expeditions that they do at various times of the year to capture everything just right. I think they do a fantastic job of that. I'm just looking at, what was the video you pointed out? It was the T Martin N2.
Yeah. I was looking at T Martin 2. And yeah.
I mean, he's basically just doing the whole free roam stuff here, which I think it's looking pretty good there. I'm quite impressed with it. Is the depiction of Tokyo up to your standards, John? I mean, I think it's fair to point out to the audience that you do spend as much time as you can in Japan. You're fluent in Japanese. You're very much embedded in the culture. Yeah.
I mean, I think I love how it looks overall. I mean, again, I feel like a lot of the complaints are just misunderstanding what Forza Horizon is supposed to be, and that if they actually, like, they showed the Shibuya Scramble and a bunch of shots, and I think materials wise and rendering the way it looks, I think they did a nice job. But obviously, it's set up in a way to encourage racing, so you don't have like the same level of like traffic and pedestrian density and all that. Although there is, if you look closely, there's a fair amount of crowds along the side. The one complaint I would have is that, and this is probably a technical limitation, is that it doesn't really nail the essence of light, because there's so many like storefronts and buildings that just are projecting so much light in real life. And when you're looking around inside the game here, a lot of the storefronts just have this kind of dark, dim look at night. Like basically we would need like RT emissives to really capture the way Tokyo looks at night. And I just don't think realistically that's like possible. And because it's such a dynamic game with constantly changing times of day, you're not just going to be able to bake all that out and make it look convincing either. So that seems to be one of the limitations here.
I guess we'll have to see when the PC version comes out here, because the RTGI from Forza Motorsport, in the PC version there, it did support RT emissives. So maybe it could really liven up the night scenes in Tokyo here that we're not seeing in this Xbox Series X footage.
Okay.
I would love to see it.
Well, a few things that I'm still interested in: scalability. They've somehow got to make this run on a handheld, so I suspect it is probably going to be a case of like just removing layers, similar to what they did with Forza Horizon 5, and obviously how it scales up. Because I do think that the drive footage from the channel probably reflects all of the RT features being enabled there, which is going to be a bit of a game changer. I would hope for the PC version there. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing this. It's not so long, but we have to wait now. It's like early May this is coming out, I believe, which is cool. PlayStation users will have to wait. But yeah, I think there's plenty to be optimistic about here. There do seem to be some interesting bugs, lighting and shadowing related bugs that were in that preview footage. But it's preview footage. They actually put a huge watermark on there saying, "Hey, this is pre-release stuff. It's not finished." But it looks as though people are generally quite happy with it, those who've gone hands-on. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more.